All right, well, welcome back, everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce Anna Engstrom and Kenneth Edwall. And they're going to be talking to us about kringskassan, maybe a matrix in Sweden's public sector.
Yeah, as you said, my name is Anna Engstrom. I'm product owner for IT service that we call SAFOS. So we're going to talk about that today. And with me, I have
Kenneth Edwall. I'm the lead architect behind kringskassan SAFOS services. I've been working for kringskassan for about 10 years. And for the record, this presentation is only going to be in Swedish, so...
Så nu kommer jag fortsätta att prata på vårt språk, så jag hoppas att alla förstår. We're kidding. Of course, we're doing it in English. So those three words you see here, secure, easy, and independent, that's how we want to describe SAFOS very shortly. So during the presentation, we'll also come in more regarding these keywords. So the agenda, we have 30 minutes. We're going to start shortly to describe what kringskassan is. The background to SAFOS, and Kenneth will guide us through the strategies and principles we have in SAFOS. And then we'll look into the status that we have now and look beyond what's coming, and ending up with some insights that we would like to share. So if we begin with kringskassan, in English it's called the Swedish Social Insurance Agency. So the agency's core business is to provide financial security if someone in Sweden got sick, or if they have a disability, or families with children. So for example, in Sweden we have a social network that we are very proud of. So during summer holidays, me and Kenneth, 2 months off, 1 month because we're employed at kringskassan, and 1 month because we have small kids. So that's fantastic. But we also have benefits for people that are sick or have a disability. So maybe you have to get paid when you can't be working. And then kringskassan also have another mission, and that's to coordinate researchers to get people back to work if they are being sick or need help. So just some really quick facts. We're a state authority. We pay out around 230 billion Swedish crown each year. It's almost 4% of our GDP in Sweden. And we make around 21 million decisions regarding the benefits and compensation we have. And we operate from 60 different locations with our head office in Stockholm. And we're approximately 4,000 employees. 1,200 of us work at our IT. So yeah. Kenneth, let's talk a little bit more about IT now.
Definitely. So as you might imagine, we do lots of IT as the staff is 1,500 staff employees. We're proud to say that our case management system, the heart or the core of our agency that our agents are using, is built on top of open source. We did a quite big shift from a proprietary solution, and we went to full open source. And actually, almost the full entire core team is working for kringskassan. They're hired by us. We operate about 85 different services. Many of these services needs to be made available 24/7. We have our own operations center, making sure that the services are up and running. We have about 35,000 cases per day being handled by our agents. And sadly, I must say, similar to Swiss Post, we are still having physical documents being sent in to us. But we're trying to make this as automatic as possible. Basically, we have a system that automatically scans the documents and puts them in the right case. But our main goal is to make sure that Swedish citizens can do their business themselves via self-service portal. So we have our own app and we have our own homepage. So that's the core business of kringskassan. Back in 2017, we got the mission to deliver IT services to other government agencies. And that was primarily based on that we already delivered lots of IT services to ourselves. And that we initially thought that the mission was to deliver data center services, IaaS, for example. But it turned out many small government agencies needed secure digital workplace solutions. And it also turned out that our agencies wanted to have some kind of standalone services as well, which is where SAFOS comes in. It hasn't been a permanent mission, but it appears like we're going to get a permanent mission to deliver IT services. It's been under evaluation, and it looks like there's also going to be more government agencies doing the same. So, some background to SAFOS. As we mentioned, it's a standalone service. And back in the year 2020, we did some quite extensive market research. Our IT board asked us to screen the market for services that can be delivered air-gapped from our own data center. During our market research, we noticed many proprietary solutions were heading towards the cloud sector. So many had a cloud-first strategy and basically were strangling their own prem solutions. Based on that, we looked outside of our own agency to see what's happening out in the EU. So we talked to the CHAP guys, we talked to Dataport, and we noticed that open source is really picking up in the EU. So we wanted to look at that. Then in 2021, we set a strategy. The strategy was for our own agency to deliver multi-tenant services to other government agencies. But other government agencies also started picking up. So we were about 10 agencies working together to scan the market. We got funding from the IT board of Kringskassan, and then we started establishing our services. So Anna, maybe you can talk about that.
Yeah. So after having this project with the goals to deliver solutions that could be used by Swedish governments, we had our first delivery in the beginning of 2022, building on Nextcloud. This was mostly for document sharing and document editing. So that was the first need that we could fulfill. The year after, next delivery was the digital video meeting, building on Jitsi. Many governments were longing for this. They were in the Skype business world, and they were like, finally, we can have a more modern video meeting. And lately, or the last piece of the puzzle of SAFOS is our production environment building on Elements. So just before the summer, we had our first delivery, and as we speak, our amazing product team is back home in Sweden and delivering more to other agencies. So this was like the goal for the project. Okay, make sure you have a delivery so these services can be used by an agency. But then the fun work starts for me and us in the product development. So we will later also tell you more about what's the status and what's coming ahead. But just to describe again what SAFOS is. So it's a collaboration platform for public service. It's created for Swedish government within this government assignment that you just told us about. And it's important for us to deliver IT services that are resilient and that we are taking the data protection seriously. We build everything in SAFOS on top of open source products, and it also needs to be accessible. So yearly we do an external accessible review to make sure that it's included so that everyone can use the services. If or when we have identified any bugs, we have sent them to our vendors to make a plan back that we can communicate. So when are we? Yes, Kenneth, over to you again.
Yeah, I just want to add regarding accessibility. The reviews, that's sort of our contribution to the open source system. So basically, all the findings you see, the accessibility improvements you see with Nextcloud and Element, we can't say it's just because of us, but we try to do our best to make the products as accessible as possible. So the elephant in the room, we're seeing three different camps in the Swedish public sector when it comes to the usage of public cloud services. The first camp is more or less having a cloud-first strategy. Basically, they choose a major hyperscaler solution, or they choose EU-based solutions or Swedish-based solutions. The other camp is on the opposite. They want to deliver IT services from their own data center or from other Swedish vendors. and then we see a mix where they basically, for example, determine that confidential information needs to be handled in their own data center or from a Swedish cloud provider. And for more open information, they use public cloud services. So in order to build SAFOS, we sat down and looked at what kind of strategies and principles do we need to have when we build these services. That will be sort of our foundation when building the services. The first one is a no-brainer for us, and that's secure. Our government agency is really a high security facility, and also IT on the IT side. So basically we have our own cybersecurity team. We also have a SOC, a Security Operations Center, and we also do yearly penetration testing on all our deliveries. Independent in this case is twofold. It means we should be able to deliver all our services from our data center, be it in air-gapped or limited access or full access from the internet. And we don't want to rely on especially legislations outside of the EU. The other part is we want the platforms to be working for as many operating systems and web browsers as possible, because we don't rule over the other government agencies' IT platforms. So they need to be as compatible as possible.
And just a quick add-in here before we go to the next strategy. When we're going to have a presentation, our communication department always have to make sure, okay, it's fine, you can use these pictures, or you can have this language. And here's an example, this yoga person. Kenneth was begging, can we please have the yoga person in the presentation? And they said yes. So we're really happy. This is the feeling, being independent.
This is how easy it is to deliver a software.
Yeah.
Right?
Not really. Okay, now we can continue with the third.
Thanks for adding that. Then open. Anna already spoke about open. So right now we're building all our services based on open source. And we're seeing, basically we feel that we also take our responsibility. Let's say we have 50 government agencies using our services. And we have a contract. The contract is end of life, and we need to go out to the market and find a solution. If we have 50 government agencies using our services, then we need to life cycle them to another solution in maybe half a year or a year, which is really, really painful. So in Sweden, in our procurement system, we can actually, in some cases, pinpoint open source products. So we can choose, we want that product and that, and then we can be more modular and flexible if we want to change parts of the technical stack. We also want to contribute as much as possible. We have, thanks to another government agency in Sweden called HAV, I'm not going to say it in English, they put together an Outlook plugin for Jitsi that they have written, I would say, 90% of the code, and we are now using that in our services, and it's open source. We can share the link after that. Collaboration is also twofold. When and where we can, we want to build on an open protocol. And that gives a lot of added value. I'm going to show you that in the next slide. But we also want to collaborate. So one of the reasons why we're here today is to exchange thoughts, ideas, innovation, to grow the Matrix network. So I guess you've seen thousands of combinations of this slide. So it's a no-brainer for many of you in the room. I just want to explain why we feel this is important for us. As you know, emailing is a no-brainer. You can have a Gmail, you can have whatever mail client you want, and you send an email. With chat, that's not the case right now. When building SAFOS, we don't want to end up in another lock-in scenario. So basically, we want to be as flexible as possible, and also when we want to be able to replace the client side, but keep the underlying stack. And that gives us lots of flexibility, but it also gives us the opportunity to collaborate for our consumers to collaborate with other vendors on the market. And that's the other part. We're seeing Swedish cloud providers building services on Element. I know a couple of years ago I saw Rocket Chat was going towards the Matrix stack. I'm not sure where they are, but we're hoping more clients, commercial clients, are heading into the Matrix stack. So some details about SAFOS Chat. That's actually our chat client. We're not doing the chat way where we build our own client. We rely on Element in this case. So basically we have an enterprise support agreement. Any bugs, security issues, accessibility issues are reported straight to Element, and they're helpful to get them on the way. We're deploying Element on top of OpenShift with a multi-tenant architecture. I can't go into the details. And we're using a combination of the Element server installer and Helm charts. I heard there's talk about maybe making Helm charts a way to go. Yeah, I can see someone nodding there, the guy owning it. And we're really looking forward to that. Being in an air-gapped environment is complex. So the enterprise installer is not always the best. Two-factor authentication is a requirement for us. If we're going to share sensitive information, it needs to be two-factor authentication. I can't pull the card out of my computer right now, but we have smart cards at kringskassan, and we also deliver smart cards and certificate-based authentication to 74 other government agencies, I believe, right now in Sweden. We're looking forward for the Element X Enterprise app. We want to add it to our enterprise mobility suite. Right now we're using one-on-one calls, and we're waiting eagerly for Element Call. I heard rumors something was released today, so I'm looking forward to that. So, Anna, now and beyond.
Thank you. Okay, so let's look into the services that we have. So here's a print screen from the Nextcloud deployment we have. So this is usually used for document sharing, a shared calendar or easy Kanban. It could also be polls and forms functions. And we deliver them in a shared environment like this with our blue SAFOS, but it's also possible for the governments to brand them and choose what kind of apps they want to display or hide. And then we have our video meeting building on Jitsi, and Kenneth talked about this Outlook plugin that's posted on GitHub, so everyone can use it. We have the video meeting. It's possible to join the meeting as a participant with our electronic identification. For some Swedish governments, that's a demand to be able to talk about sensitive information in the video meetings. And we also added a digital whiteboard now, just before summer. And then we had the third piece of the puzzle, like I said, our Element installation. And here you also see me and Kenneth having a one-to-one call at the airport, making this presentation yesterday. So this is, just some picture from the 3 services that we have. If we look at some use cases, like how is this used at the authorities? Common use case in Nextcloud is authority collaboration. So it could be like 5 governments or more that get the mission from the Swedish government saying, in the next 3 years, you're going to focus on this topic. And they don't want to email each other and comment documents and attach files, and no one knows what the latest version is. So then they use Nextcloud for document and to make sure that the right people can access them. And then we have the booked meetings in Jitsi with the Outlook plugin. This is used both internally or externally with other parts, but we also have Swedish government using this to meet the citizens to talk about sensitive information. It can be their health or other things that they need help with. And then we have the third collaboration building on Element and Matrix. This is now the time that governments can leave Skype for Business for real. So now they can put it out and they go in and get the full ecosystem for internal collaboration. We will also see external collaboration when we have federation, but at this point it's mostly like internal, so you can chat and call And if we look at this, sometimes we get the question, okay, now when you get element on place, will you take away Jitsi? No, because there's different use cases. As we said, it's possible now in Jitsi to identify with electric identifications to make sure. So we still had that need with booked meetings. And we see that this is what we need in our portfolio right now. We will see in some years if we will change something. And then just the roadmap. If we look at the collaboration service built on Nextcloud, we are working now with Collabora. So that's the program used for online editing. Many users are coming from Microsoft world, so they want it to be Microsoft Word, and if it's not, they don't like it. So we've been struggling here, like what do we do? It's important that the users like it, but we also have a strategy to be open source and strive to develop the product so they use it and think it's good. So that's what we are working on. And we're also looking into having environments that are not exposed on the internet. So governments has been asking not to have it published online 24/7. So just if we're 5 governments that gonna collaborate, let's make sure it's just people from our governments and our network that can access this area. And then we have end-to-end encrypted files, some AI function, and other apps that's been requested. And then we see in the future, integrate a digital whiteboard even here, and maybe also integrate with our meeting service for a full experience.
So moving on to meetings and chat. As I mentioned, we're leaning on the Element roadmap. So basically, when we deliver our services, we look at the Element roadmap. We use the long-time service branch, and we deliver services when they're made available. We're doing quality improvements, especially in Jitsi. We've had some help from Element and the Nordic guys, really helpful. We now have a digital whiteboard in Jitsi, and as Anna mentioned, we're going to have a flow of meetings where we require everyone to authenticate themselves in order to participate in the meetings. Soon, the first part is Element Call. We're really looking forward to that. And we also are looking for, many of our users are used to lots of presence, custom presence, but also the ability to integrate presence with other parts. And then future, we keep getting questions about speech to text. And one might say it's a fancy feature, sort of nice to have, but it's actually accessibility improvement, great accessibility improvement. So we're really looking forward to that. So that's the key points. We have 5 minutes, and then there's questions.
Yeah. So just to explain how we collaborate in development, SAFOS, we do it with the authorities' need in center. So it's not just like Kenneth coming to me saying, this is a cool function, can we please add it? So everything is built up for our agencies coming in to us with their needs or their demands. And then we have to prioritize, what are we doing? We are sometimes dependent on, for example, Elements roadmap. And some things we don't want to develop because it may be unique for one authority. And then we say, no, we're not doing this because we want to try to be a standard solution so we can meet the need of many. So we are working closely to the governments using our services. And we get future requests, and then we see what can we do on ourselves or what should we send to our vendors. And then lastly, the insights. Kenneth, you can start.
Yeah, I mean, many of you have talked about this in the public track today. We call it the battle of the best and the most features between vendors. When, for example, Copilot came out in the Microsoft platform, people started shaking, asking for when do we get AI in X, Y, and Z. And that's going to keep coming. And I believe trying to beat the hyperscalers isn't the end goal here. The end goal here is making sure that we build our services on an open platform so that we can federate, so that we can collaborate, and then add features on top. Enterprise grade and security adds lots of complexity. So it takes time for us to get the services up and running. But that's the way it is.
Okay, now something happened. Maybe Okay, and then we also see that this is new ways of working. So it's not just changing the IT system. Okay, we go from Skype and we do the persistent chat in Element. It's something else. So we also see that the agencies need time to lead the change, and the user need to get used that it doesn't look exactly the same. So sometimes we see that it takes a little bit more time to get the whole organizations using the system. And we also see several supplementary solutions being used. Often happens now. So for example, one need or one type of information, a public cloud service is used, and for another need or another type of information, they want to have a delivery that they have in their own data center or Swedish vendor or from collaboration with Försäkringskassan. And we also see that collaboration, it's meaningful to create value for others. So if a government come to us and want to add a feature and we do it, they also make it better for the other agencies. So this collaboration and being a part of a community that develop things together is also a meaningful thing that we also see. That's it from us. We're super excited to be here to talk to you and listen to other inspirational talk today and tomorrow. But that's it. Thank you.
Looks like we have 2 minutes for questions.
Hi, Roland from Faircom. How do you onboard the users? So different public administration units have their identity management systems, the LDAP, Active Directory. Do you have a central service where you map all these users? They expect that the groups which they have at some directory service automatically create matrix rooms or Nextcloud groups. Do you have here some experience, or are you just at the beginning and do it case by case?
Yeah, honestly, we're still at the beginning. We have a central authentication system being used, and then there's a self-service to add users from each government agency. So basically, it's a centralized method to add users. We're not using any fancy stuff yet in terms of AD groups, etc. But we're looking into it, definitely.
Any other questions?
You mentioned some AI functionality in the future. Could you describe a bit more what you had in mind for that sort of thing?
Yeah, it's actually a sort of hint to the vendors. We believe that ethical AI is something that we believe are good additions to the products. So we know for example, LiveKit is adding stuff. Maybe that's something that could be added to the stack as well.
So example could be like if you're in a room, summarize the most important, or a document, you can get the main topics, or transcription of a meeting, or the speech to text that we were talking about. That's some examples.
All right, in the interest of time, though, we're going to give our speakers another thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Fan, vad grym.